Well, welcome everyone. My name is Sarah Pearson. I'm the assistant conductor for the Symphony of Northwest Arkansas, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Cory Mixdorf, who is our principal trombonist. Hi, Cory.
Hello, thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Oh, I'm so glad you're with me tonight. This is so exciting. So that our people and our patrons coming to the concert on Sunday, excuse me,
Mhm.
Sunday, February the 16th at 2 p.m. It's different, right? So we have to make sure
Yes.
to make a big deal so people know it's don't come Saturday, right? It's on
Yeah.
Sunday at 2 p.m. It's a matinee. So
I'm
super.
actually really excited about that because all of my musician friends who have like other gigs on Saturday, they might actually be able to come then. So,
I love it. There's no box, and we're changing it up, and we're going to test it and see how we what we think about it. But I think it's going to be a huge hit, and
yeah.
so we're excited about this. So Cory, I want everyone to have a chance to get to know you. So if you're not familiar, everyone, our upcoming concert on Sunday, February the 16th at 2 p.m. is titled Jupiter Rising, and we're featuring our principal trombone, Cory, on a trombone concerto. But before we talk about the music, because that's important. But I think it's really important that you get to know Cory because he's fabulous. And so I have some questions for you. Some of them are serious, some of them are fun, and some in between. But
Shoot, I'm ready.
all right, here we go. How did you get started on trombone? Was there instruments that you played prior to it, or kind of tell us a little bit about your background, what brought you to play the trombone?
I really wish there was a more grandiose story, but it was really just I was raised in Iowa, and in Iowa you start a band in fifth grade. So you go to the director's office. He's got a slew of instruments around, and I remember trying really hard on the trumpet and the drums because I really wanted to play those. But he said you should play trombone, and so I did. And so yeah, that's really it. I did always did well in band, and so stuck with it. But yes, unfortunately, there's no like, well, my grandfather played trombone and he handed me the one that he used to. No, none of that, unfortunately.
Well, fun fact, I actually was teaching a trombone sectional the day that 9/11 happened. So I'm like, I am proficient, but not so great. So don't ask me to play any of your solos. Like my area is flute, voice, and piano, but actually did better on trombone than I did on trumpet or French horn. So
Ah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, it's kind of easy.
Yeah, but that's awesome. And I as well got started when I was in band in sixth grade, right? That was just kind of the thing. And they held out the
Yeah,
instrument that I already knew.
yeah.
My uncle had given me my cousin's flute, and I was like, oh, that's fun.
Ah,
And I spent
yeah.
the whole summer getting ready.
If you already own one, that's a big part of it, whatever the
Yeah,
instrument is.
it was my thing. And then it just the sky was the limit. I mean, I've grown up doing I started doing piano and voice when I was 5, so that was already in my background. So it wasn't like I didn't know music, but
Sure, of course. Yeah.
yeah, so you played trombone all through high school. What
Yes.
how would you describe how you got from starting in band and trombone
Mhm.
all the way to where you are now? How did that progress for you?
Well, like I said, yeah, I played it all through high school. I made all state, which is a big deal when you're in high school. A couple of years, was the first trombonist in my senior year, so that always, that was exciting and felt pretty neat and was encouraging. And I mean, to be honest, I didn't know like what else I might be good at, or really even have interest in many other things. And I was really inspired by my band director, as many of us are. And so I thought, well, I want to be a band director. So I entered school at University of Northern Iowa as an undergrad for music education. Eventually, I came to the realization that sort of my route was more involved in performance and education at the maybe at the higher levels, college and whatnot. So when you teach at the college level, you have to have a few degrees. So I went on, I got my master's and my doctorate, had a year off in between undergraduate and master's, and I actually toured with the Mr. Jack Daniels Silver Cornet Band for a month, and I worked at a golf course and practiced a lot. So that was a nice year off. But then after that, I was school until I got my first job, which was the trombone professor at Georgia State University, Atlanta. I was there for 4 years and then got the job where I am now at the University of Arkansas, which I've been here for a dozen years almost and happy to call it home. But the best part of being a college teacher, in my opinion, is that you really get to do it all. You get to teach, which is incredible. I love my job here, but you get to perform a lot. In fact, you're sort of expected to perform a lot. So, I play principal in SoNA. I play second trombone in Fort Smith. I'm principal trombone in the Arkansas Philharmonic Orchestra. I've played with Tulsa, Oklahoma City. Actually, where you're from, Chattanooga. I was
Warner,
acting
right?
trombonist there for a year. Sorry.
You know Doug Warner, right?
Doug Warner, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And so yeah, I get to do it all. So I'm very fortunate and blessed to have the job that I have.
I so resonate with what you were saying, like about being realizing that there's only certain levels that you enjoy teaching. Like I tell them all the time, I'm like, I'm good with teaching high school, and I've taught, collegiate level now for 10 plus years, and I really enjoy that. I enjoy the that level of conversation, but I mean, I can teach all the way down to the littles, but I
Mhm.
there's this.
I am so like envious and respectful of people that can teach like middle school because that's not me and they are a special breed and I'm thankful for all of them.
Yeah, I get one block a day with them, and I'm like, okay, say bye.
Yeah, yeah.
Forever one block, and we have a good time. But oh my gosh, I enjoy higher ed too. I get that. That's
Yeah.
cool. I didn't know you were towards the Atlanta area because that's kind
Hmm.
of my neck of the woods, about a couple hours from here.
That's
So
right.
very cool. All right, so
Strangely enough, actually, when I taught at Georgia State, I lived in Fayetteville, Georgia. So I moved from Fayetteville to Fayetteville.
it was serendipity. It was meant
Yep,
to
that's
happen.
right.
Supposed to be. I love your just side note, because you, with your teaching there, you do a lot of stuff for your students. And
Hmm.
I think last year you did a thing like kind of like a vlog, like video thing, where you were talking about all the different kind of tone series and harmonics and ear training. Isn't that what you did last year? A lot of
Yeah,
that.
I mean, the series, if you want to call it that, was Melodic Mondays. I did a
Yeah.
simple melody every Monday and then had like some sort of pedagogical component that went along with it. Yeah.
Love it. And it's so important, right? Especially on a brass instrument. I mean, because I don't know how many of our patrons or people know really how a trombone works, but your lips are doing a lot of that,
Yeah.
those partials and changing it around to find those pitches. I mean, you
Yes.
have all these notes on the page. It doesn't just happen just here on the slide. You have your lips do a lot. So
Absolutely. There's a lot of work there. And I'm really actually looking forward to showing that off a bit because when you ask just the average listener about a trombone, they might think jazz, they might think marches, things like that, loud playing, which we definitely do and love to do. But to me, the more fun, more enjoyable part of the instrument is the lyrical side and the singing side of the trombone. So I'm looking forward to displaying all of the above at the concert.
yes, and that concerto is packed full, and we'll save that for a few more minutes to talk
Sure,
about.
sure.
It's like, oh my gosh, it's like the perfect spotlight for a trombone.
Yeah.
It's why, So tell us what you would be doing right now. This kind of fun facts for a few minutes. What
Okay,
would you
sure.
do if you talked about a little bit before, but if you weren't doing trombone or
Yeah.
teaching, what do you think you would end up being doing? Would you be playing golf, like go to a golf course?
I mean, I always sort of thought that I would be a math teacher, to be honest with you. I'm pretty good at explaining things, and math came relatively easy to me. Not the advanced stuff like trigonometry, but just algebra, geometry. I really like that. The other thought was a mailman. It's like I thought it would be great just to walk around town and distribute mail and bring good news to people. And I don't know. I always thought that would be kind of fun.
I love that. Well, it makes sense though that you would choose like math, because with the theory and stuff that you teach, like
Yeah,
because music is math,
that's
there's
true.
so much math in it.
You
And
bet.
you're so, personable. I could see you too as being the other side. But we're so glad that you chose to in this path
Me
so
too.
that our lives could cross and we could hear your incredible talent. So who is the like if you could think of a teacher or someone that you have crossed paths with that has inspired you, who would you say that was? And maybe something that they told you that kind of stuck.
Well, let's see. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, there was the my band director. He was very inspirational to me at the time and helped us excel. Iowa was a big jazz state, so not only did we do concert band, but we did a lot of jazz band, and that was incredibly inspirational to me. J.J. Johnson, as far as I didn't come across paths with him, but he was a jazz trombonist who I heard from an early age and just adored and loved. And actually, early in my career, I thought maybe I would be the next J.J. Johnson, but jazz requires a whole different kind of work that my brain just wasn't suited for. But as far as professionally, I mean, it seems like the gimme answer, but my teachers. I went to the University of Northern Iowa in a strange time. They went through a cycle of trombone teachers. So usually what happens is you go to a university, you have the same teacher for 4 years on your instrument. I had four different teachers in 4 years, and but they were all amazing teachers, and so I'm very happy to have studied with all of them, and of course my teachers at Indiana University as well. So I suppose, that's again, it's kind of the go-to answer, but that's kind of what inspired me to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and I like that you talked about having several teachers. Like it is disturbing, you plan, you have this path and you get shifted, but at the same time, you learn so much. Like I have had several conducting mentors and teachers, and they all have contributed to who I am as a conductor. And it's just really
Mm,
cool how that all kind of functions.
absolutely. And it's kind of fun to think that in some way, I hope anyway, that I'm giving that same inspiration to others, with my students.
I don't know if you find it sometimes that I'll be like conducting on the podium or studying a score or sitting at the piano playing or whatnot, and I'll hear stuff that my teachers have told me previous, and it just kind of or I may be teaching
Yeah.
students or working with musicians, and it flows out of you because it becomes
Yes. And in fact, one of the best one of the best compliments I ever received after a recital was, "I can tell that you were a D. Stewart student," who was one of my teachers at IU, and that's a high compliment because he's one of the most musical trombonists, out there, and so it was high praise to get that comment.
That's beautiful. Well, let's like, kind of talk about the some music now, if you're
Sounds
good.
great. You bet.
So we have several pieces on this program. I'm so excited about them. Some new pieces that not everyone's familiar with, some that you're definitely familiar with. First up on the program is a piece it's called a Russian Rag. And it made me kind of think of you a little bit. Obviously, it's a piece arranged for string quartet, so you're not going to be playing it on trombone but you do love jazz, right? So maybe
Absolutely.
of that line, but Eliana Katz Charon wrote a piece. She was really an interesting composer. I found I was doing some research on her. I think the people are going to really enjoy listening to her music, but her creative process that she is inspired by intuition, like
Okay.
her like she sits at the piano. She always composes at the piano, and
Mhm.
she is all about the searching, the testing, and the clarifying. And so this piece is based off of those ideas. I mean, her output, like her musical output, she's done stuff for TV, cinema, commercials, and ballet. Actually, if you ever seen clay animation kind of cartoons,
Oh, of
maybe
course. Yeah.
she did one. I've not seen it, but she did one with Mary and Max, and then it helped kind of bring about this piece that we're gonna have on the concert. But it's for strings, but it has a Russian rag to it, so I think it's kind of
Very
cool.
cool.
Ties in to the trombone
Absolutely.
aspect of it too. Then another piece that we also for strings on the program is Osvaldo Golozhov, and it's called Tenebrae. And it is also for string orchestra. It was written in 2022. I think he's a Brazilian composer. And it's sounds of the past like merging forth. He gave a great description of it that it's like an orbiting spaceship that never touches the ground. Like there's this ever building like tension. But it gives a chance for like these melismas. Like I don't know if you're familiar with it, like in 1714 Couperon's choral set, and it kind of feeds off of that, but in a contemporary way. So it
Very neat.
has a very floaty feel to it. So I'm excited for our audience to be exposed to that. I think the way that I would describe the piece would be it's metaphorical, like darkness, so to speak, but light and space at the same time, which he talks about inspired the piece.
Wow.
So
It
those
sounds like
are
it's going to be a great mix of repertoire.
Yeah, so those kind of kick off our program, but then we dive into your incredible piece. And so I'm going to let you speak a little bit about it. I obviously have things that I can feed into, but I think from the master himself, you'll have the best perspective on this piece. So I'll let you go ahead and talk about your trombone concerto that you're performing.
Sure. Thank you. Well, I mean, first of all, I just want to thank, Paul and everyone involved, the artistic committee as well, if they had a hand in this and allowing me to do this, because, trombone players, generally speaking, don't get asked to do concerti because, You know, we have violin players and pianists that have hundreds of years worth of fantastic music that's been written for them. And the trombone simply hasn't been known as a solo instrument very long when you look at large scale history. So, you know, this piece is actually 101 years old. It had its 100th anniversary last year. The Grandel's Concerto for Orchestra. If you were to ask, you know, a trained trombone player to name three pieces for trombone, solo trombone, Grandal would probably be one of them. It gets played quite often because it's very much in the romantic style. You know, it's very singable. It has your standard, you know, three movement structure with that middle movement being just lovely. It's one of my favorite pieces of music. And again, I love that lyrical part of the trombone. So that second movement is special for me. It was written at a time when there was a lot of talent in the area where trombone, excuse me, where Grandal was living, and so I don't know if he wrote this for Wilhelm Arkwright, who was a famous trombonist at the time, but it was premiered by him, and it's just a wonderful piece. I hope everyone comes and enjoys it because again, how often do you see a trombone concerto? Because it's again, we see the flutists and the violinists and the pianists, but come and see everything the trombone can do.
And I love that. And you're exactly right that it's not a long concerto. What is it, like 16 minutes total?
That's about right.
And as far as like the style of it, the first movement is fast, and then it's that typical, you know, the slower
Hmm.
lyrical, and then it goes fast again. But it's just fabulous. It's like totally written for the trombone, and it's like you get to showcase everything that you were talking about earlier. That I was like, well, let's save it for now. But you get to really showcase what the trombone is capable of doing, which I
Yeah.
think is exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, like I said earlier, you're going to hear that bombastic stuff. You're going to hear the lyrical stuff, high stuff, low stuff, but it's very idiomatically written. Like it suits the trombone very well. And I hope that comes across too in the performance. And as a side bonus, my plan is to do it from memory, which to be honest, we don't do that much. We don't have the history of that. Trombone players, you know, didn't do that from an early age, like I know some other instruments do. But I've been teaching this piece and playing it for a long time, and I was like, I bet I could do this from memory. So we'll see how that goes.
Find that like when I do things from memory that I'm more vested. So your heart and your mind and everything, you're so focused. I mean, I usually when where there's so fast turnaround sometimes with scores and stuff, but I will conduct from memory, and it's just such a different experience. So I think I totally agree. It's you connect with it a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, I've played this for a few times actually recently at some recitals that I've done, and in the process of making myself nervous and doing it from memory in front of other people. And one of the comments I got is that when I played those movements from memory, they felt that I was, you know, less connected to the stand in front of me and more connected with the audience and making a story happen. So hopefully that sticks.
And that's so true. I love that you bring that up because you are telling a story. You're telling what the music means to you. I mean, it's a story without words, right? Music
Hmm.
speaks to us where words fail often, right? And so this is that case with this piece and it starts so exciting and it takes us through this journey. It's almost like it's programmatic, but it's not, you know, that you're able
Right.
to, I think that's wonderful.
Absolutely.
And so I'm so excited about that and thrilled that you're doing that. And so we have one more piece on the program, which is super exciting. It's based it's not it's based off of five different melodies simultaneously. I don't know if anybody knows what I'm going with this one, but if you know anything about Mozart, his final symphony that he wrote was Symphony number 41. Right. Jupiter Rising is the title of our concert, and his final symphony was labeled Jupiter, right? The Jupiter. And the reason I bring up five different melodies happening simultaneously, he was all about being the biggest and the best at everything. And he was like, I want to really impress these people. And so in the final movement, happening when I say to simultaneously, it's like boom, everyone's doing it, like five different things happening at the same time, but it's a beautiful five things. It's not like chaotic. It's incredible. But he was I think he was regarded at the time as like a master, but over time people have looked back and saw what his absolute genius was. He was incredible. He wrote this in, I think, August of 1788, so a long time ago. It was his longest and his last symphony that he composed. I think many consider that it's his greatest, and greatest actually even in the classical the repertoire, the canon. And it really set the standard for the rest of the classical period, going in to the romantic period and making way for many more composers. So I think it's fabulous. And he didn't like make errors. Like if you look at some of his treatises, like early scores and documents, you look at like Beethoven and some of them, and there's like scribbles of like questioning what they really should write here. His wasn't. And up to the last minute, he would write stuff and it would be like perfect. And that's just incredible. But it would definitely a work that would foreshadow Beethoven, but it's very exciting. It's exuberant, like it excites you and makes you. It's like the opening statement, bum, freedom, freedom. It's like hello, wake up. It's kind of like his overtures, like it's a palate cleanse, right? And it's charming and complicated, all of the things at the same time. But maybe because you would love to give maybe a little bit of thoughts on Mozart yourself. I don't know. I know the trombone, not as many things with Mozart happening till later.
I actually have a great connection between Mozart and the trombone because the last piece he ever wrote, I know Symphony 41 was his last symphony, but the last piece he ever wrote was his Requiem. And in fact, he didn't finish it. He wrote portions of it, and then his students and peers, they completed it. But one thing that is in his handwriting that we know for sure is that in the tuba mirror movement of his Requiem, he gave the solo to the trombonist, and that was purposeful in his handwriting. And it's the only place that there's an instrumental solo, and he decided to give it to the trombone. And it's supposed to represent the voice of God. So, I mean, there's a
That
tie there.
I didn't know that. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I mean, I knew the trombone part was in there. I just didn't
Mhm.
know that background. That is so cool. I
You
love
bet.
that.
I'm sorry. I wish I could play in his symphonies. There's no trombones in any of them. But what you mentioned about that fourth movement having the five melodies at the same time, just to say that it is amazing. But you have to think about the harmonies and the rhythms and everything lining up. It's just I could barely get two melodies together. So
I mean, it's just the genius of that. And like I said, you sometimes the morning of a production where you like handing people parts that he just finished writing. It's like, who does that?
yeah, that's amazing.
Incredible. I mean, I've met people along the way throughout my career that are close to that level of genius, but that's just, and he's such I mean, I think you've been such a fun person to have met, like
That's
person,
what I hear. Yeah.
right? Obviously he wrote pieces to make fun of people or maybe he had a really good trombone friend and he was like, oh, he's getting
Very possible.
right. Oh, he had you in his mind, right? But he would write parts for sopranos that he didn't like, and he would make them do melismas that would bobble
Absolutely.
so that their wigs would wiggle. I mean,
There's
he's
personality there.
fun, right? So and you can see that exuberance of his personality that comes out in his music. And tragically he didn't have a long life, but he left us an incredible legacy of music, and I'm so excited that we get to feature it on this concert along with your concerto and our other two works that we're doing. So I think it's going to be something for everyone to come and
You
enjoy
bet.
Sunday, February the 16th at 2 p.m. and we'll be in the Walton Arts Center. So it'll be a familiar location and everything. It'll just be during the daytime. So, and like you said earlier, more people will, that especially musicians or friends will
Yeah.
have an opportunity to be able to come see more.
I mean, there's so much available in Northwest Arkansas as far as what can get your attention and what entertainment venues are available and what different kind of shows. So I think this is great that we're doing this on a Sunday because you can do whatever that other option is on Saturday night and then come see the Symphony of Northwest Arkansas on Sunday.
Yeah, go to brunch, have like a really great time. There's so many great places there in Northwest Arkansas. And when you go to our Inside of the Music, I list places that you can eat downtown, and they have some wonderful things. So you can
You
get
bet.
nourished and then enjoy some fellowship and then come to a fabulous concert. Cory, is there anything else that you would like to say to everyone before we wrap up our time together?
I look forward to seeing you all. I hopefully you all come find me afterwards and let me know if I changed your mind about the trombone. I bet your preconceived notions will be shattered.
I love it. And I hope you have a lot of your students from the university coming. They
I did
better.
require them to come, so they better be there.
Our syllabus, you have to come to my concerto. But I think that's wonderful. Well, Cory, thank you so much for joining me today. And we look forward to seeing you on Sunday, February the 16th at 2 p.m. at the Walton Arts Center. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.